I don't know what the count is currently, but it's minus 3 weeks and to Big Ten football. So we will soon have games to talk about. In the meantime, we can prep the season, of course, talk about the AP preseason poll and about great moments in Big Ten history. We appreciate you stopping by here, the Voice of College Football. This is The Deal. Corey and myself, every Tuesday, 6 Eastern. We're coming straight from the Iowa show, so you might as well just double up. Join us for the doubleheader every Tuesday at 5 Eastern for the Iowa show, 6 Eastern here. And, of course, Corey Brada from the Hawkeye of the Storm every day talking Iowa football on his channel. Corey, we're going back to back. Good to see you.
Big Ten Blue, Mark. Big Ten Blue. So, yeah, we are going back to back. And we might talk about some of our favorite Big Ten moments today as we count down the days. So, it's a good day. I'm wondering, how many official days do we have to the first college football game? Whoa, you just changed the. Yeah, how many days do we have? Because when is Iowa State, Kansas State?
That is on Saturday the 23rd, so that's just a week from this Saturday.
Ooh.
So this is what, 11
Doesn't
days?
That just give days? Doesn't that give you goosebumps?
Crazy. Yeah. And I think that's an excellent matchup because I'm always geared up for week 0, but that is like that feels like a Big 12 championship game.
Very rarely do we get matchups that quality. I mean, we were celebrating Nebraska Northwestern a few years ago, and that's a Northwestern team that went 1-11. Didn't win a game in this continent, Mark.
No, and not after September 1st. So they won a game in August. Yeah, they had the jump on everyone, but couldn't win another one.
By the way, that was a Pat Fitzgerald coach team, correct?
Yes.
I've said this several times. I didn't actually almost hit him with my car, but Pat Fitzgerald walked right in front of my car on Saturday, and he did one of these like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." I'm like, "Bro, I'm not going to hit you." And then I realized, oh, that's Pat Fitzgerald. So I rolled my window down. I'm like, "Hey, Pat, come over here." And so he leaned in the car. I said, "Hey, Corey Brada from the Hawkeye of the Storm." He was trying to get to his seat, but it was just cool. Hawkeye shirt on. Like, it was so weird seeing Pat Fitzgerald decked out in Hawkeye, but hey, his son's on the roster. And so, yeah, I got to ask Kirk about his relationship with Pat after the scrimmage, and he says it's gotten better since Ryan joined the program. It was always good. Those two guys have a lot of respect for one another. He and Paul Christ. Kirk brought those two guys up specifically, guys that Kirk's just had a lot of admiration for, even when they were, rival coaches in the conference. But I think it's weird that Pat Fitzgerald isn't coaching anywhere. I made that comment to someone else the other day. Like, maybe is it a situation where he's making money and he just doesn't need to? I'm surprised he hasn't even taken an analyst job somewhere like, I don't know, Iowa.
Well, I got to think that maybe he wants to continue to distance himself from that situation. And then also, I think he's still battling that legally. So maybe he wants to get through all of that first.
Is he battling? Is there still a legal thing going on there?
I believe so.
No. He was very, very nice to me in the brief interaction that I'd never had any comments or conversation with him in the past. It was very brief, but it's kind of cool. Just random 70,000 people, probably 10,000 people there at that event, and happened to run into.
And that's the guy that you almost ran over.
Yeah.
Pat Fitzgerald. All right, folks, comments, questions there in the chat. We will take those as well as a call in. And we've got our buddy Minnesota Dave stopping by.
Whoa, Minnesota Dave. You look a little too excited, Minnesota Dave.
Yeah,
what's happening?
I'm getting closer and closer to football season. That's what it is. That's what it is.
That is true.
Yeah.
What do you got for us, Dave?
That's a great Pat Fitzgerald story.
Yeah. Yeah, he had the Patty Fitz sunglasses on and big yellow tiger hawk in the middle of his chest. Yeah, rocket. Rocket, Patty Fitz.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I never met him, but if there was one, if I had a kid that was great enough at football, and if he didn't go to Minnesota, I would have probably wanted him to go to Northwestern and play for Pat Fitzgerald's.
Why?
Well, he would be a heck of a lot smarter than I was if he's getting into Northwestern. So, and I wouldn't.
What does that got to do? What does that have anything to do with? Wait, no. What does that have? Wait, hold on. What does that have anything to do with who you'd rather have coach your son? That would just mean that your son's stupid. If he's not as smart enough to go to Northwestern, that's more of an indictment on your kid, not on the coach.
No, this is not what I said.
What did he just say?
No, I said that if I have a son that didn't go to Minnesota, I would want him to play in the Big Ten if he played for Pat Fitzgerald's.
What did he just say about Iowa, Mark? Am I wrong on this?
I didn't hear him say anything about Iowa.
You said something about...
I didn't say anything
roll
about Iowa.
the tape. Roll the tape back.
I did not say anything about Iowa.
I want to roll the tape.
I'm a Gopher fan. You just think I'm automatically saying something wrong about Iowa.
Minnesota, you're Dave. You're just Gopher fans live in my head rent free. It's all because of the. It's all because of the. It wasn't a fair catch thing. So, anyways, all right.
Well, no, I was going to ask you guys. We could have a lot of teams tied. There's like at least 7 teams I think about right now that easily can be either 6-6 or 10-2. And I mean, I really look at it. Minnesota, I don't think will do it, but they have a chance because when you play the games, you always have a chance. And the two toughest games we have is Ohio State and Oregon. I don't know about Iowa, but I don't think they're playing a decent schedule. They have a couple tough teams, but not a lot as comparison.
Oregon. I just love when people say Oregon. it's like Steve. It's Mark. It's like people who say Kirk Ferentz. I just like, hey, did people used to say that back in the day, Dave? Oregon. Is it like Italian when people say, "Oh, I'd like to go to the local Italian restaurant"? It's like, do we call it Italy, Mark? Do we call it Italy? I'm a big fan of going to visit Rome, Italy. Anyway,
I'm staying
Dave.
out of this. I do think that maybe our friends in Minnesota are a little bit more apt to make those pronunciation slips.
Yeah, upper Midwest accent.
Ski-U-Ma, though, Dave. Ski-U-Ma, bro.
Sky-U-Ma.
I say Ski-U-Ma,
Ski-U-Ma.
bro. It's Ski-U-Ma.
Sky-U-Ma.
Well, Sky is spelled S-K-Y.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. It's Scandinavian Polish.
Is that where that comes from?
Why? What is that?
If they wanted something that rhymes with raw, so they put Sky-U-Ma. That's how it.
But what does that? What does it mean? What does Sky-U-Ma mean?
It means absolutely nothing. They wanted something that rhymes with raw.
It doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't mean anything. It's just basically something that rhymes with raw. Raw.
Oh my goodness.
It started.
Mark,
started back in 1906 when we tied Michigan, and they left that jug there, and then we wrote raw Sky-U-Ma on it.
I thought that was a PJ thing.
No,
Did he bring it back?
That's a Gopher
I
thing
just
for
figured
years.
it was a PJ thing,
Mark,
because I had never heard it before.
I thought there was some meaning behind it, but I am having a very hard time not ripping Minnesota right now. And I don't even have any vendetta against Minnesota, but the fact that is literally a made up phrase, and you spelled it, and they spelled the made up phrase wrong, makes me I'm just in awe right now. I have nothing else to say.
I tend to give it some legitimacy since it goes back to 1906, that maybe it wasn't originally legitimate, but when it sticks around for over 100 years, then it becomes legitimate.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll accept that a little bit. Sorry. I'm just really being hard on you today, Dave. I apologize.
Hey. We have until what is it? October. When do we play? You got Iowa? October?
It's late October.
All right. Isn't it near Halloween? Isn't Halloween weekend?
It's pretty close to November. I know that. I think it's the last weekend of October.
Okay, yeah. So we have until then to get on each other's nerves.
Yep. There you go. Absolutely.
But I'm looking at all the teams. There's a lot of teams that don't play each other. Minnesota does not play Michigan. Does not play out of the teams I think that can be competitive. does not play Michigan, does not play Illinois, does not play, off the top of my head, trying to think, does not play Indiana. Those are like three teams right there that are going to be in the mix for this playoff. We could have like a four-way tie for fourth place. Even Iowa, I think, it has a good chance of making it. Like I said, any team that I feel like can be 6-6, or even like 10-2, Iowa has a good chance. They have a great defense, and depending on how good their quarterback is, I can say the same thing with Minnesota too. At least Iowa's quarterback is proven to be a good quarterback. So,
and Minnesota's schedule is very favorable, correct, Mark? Like in general, I mean, you just outlined it, Dave, but I think comparative to the rest of the conference, Minnesota has a pretty favorable schedule. Yeah, I've looked at their schedule, but
who's the best team on the schedule, Dave, after Ohio State and Oregon?
Probably Nebraska and Iowa.
So that's okay. Well, Iowa's ahead of Nebraska. I hope those two teams shouldn't be in the same tier, Dave.
They're not in
just
the same
explain
tier?
Just explain to me where you get off saying they're in the same tier.
I don't think they're in the same.
Nebraska hasn't won. When is the last time Nebraska won a bowl game?
Okay, to quote one Corey Bratta from a week ago, why are we bringing up the past when determining who's going to be better or on the same tier in 2025?
Because every year we hear this hype about Nebraska. So at some point, it's the same staff. Now, there were some of those years that we heard it with Scott Frost, obviously.
2 years with Matt Rule.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, until we see it, it's kind of like Iowa with the receivers. I think they're going to be better, but I got to see it. And I don't know how you could. Same here. Iowa's dominated that team. Now, they've been close games, but they've dominated the rivalry as far as wins and losses, sort of like the Iowa State rivalry. And I just need to see it from Nebraska to even consider them in the same tier as Iowa. That's just crazy. Crazy to me.
There's no comparison between what the two teams have accomplished in the last 10 years. Absolutely. That's not debatable. But if we're talking about personnel and what most people's expectations are for this season, it's that these are very comparable teams.
Okay. Well, I'll need to look at Nebraska's schedule because not that is really a.
Well, again, to quote somebody from last week,
I'm not
talking about their schedules. I'm talking about how good they are.
If they play, okay. Well, I'm just telling you, if they played Iowa's schedule without even. Go ahead, Dave.
They have a schedule that's almost like Minnesota. I think their toughest game is Michigan, and I want to say Oregon.
Yeah, so that's a really favorable schedule if that's the case. I just have first of all, you cannot discount the fact that Minnesota teams, and some of this has to be culture and coaching, Minnesota teams find a way to lose. So until the culture changes, because they've done this year after year with different personnel, Mark.
Are we talking about Nebraska or Minnesota?
Nebraska.
Okay, you said Minnesota. Okay.
Yeah, you said Minnesota. And I agreed with the idea that Minnesota usually has one stupid loss.
Yeah,
no, I'm talking about Nebraska. I'm just saying they have a propensity to lose close games.
Absolutely.
And Iowa's the opposite. Iowa has a propensity of winning close games.
Absolutely.
So it's two different cultures regardless of personnel. I think there's maybe less emphasis on personnel with both of those programs.
Totally agree.
Yeah, totally. I mean,
I am most likely going to predict them to have the same record this year.
Wow. That's incredible.
No, it's really not incredible.
Well, if they have the same record with two different schedules, then maybe it's not as incredible as I think. But
I think the biggest difference between like Nebraska fans and Minnesota fans when it comes to this season, Minnesota fans want the team to be delusional that they can go 10-2, but reality is, okay, we'll take 7-5, 8-4 record. I think there's a lot of Nebraska fans out there thinking they're going to start being a 10-2 team right away. That's what I've been hearing from at least from some of the Nebraska channels. They think that this is the team that's going to finally get them off that schneid and bring them back.
They have been saying that for years.
Oh yeah.
So That's why I'm just like, if I looked at Nebraska's schedule up and down, because Mark, you probably have Iowa going 8-4, right? And you got Nebraska going probably 8-4.
Yes.
And Vegas has Iowa going. Vegas has them at 7.5. So, and I was asked that question the other night. Do I think they'll hit the over on that? I think they probably will, but I won't be shocked with 8-4. I think there's a much better chance they go 8-4 than 6-6. Do I think there's a better chance they go 8-4 over 7-7? Yes, it's not as cataclysmic. If they go 7-5, huge disappointment. And honestly, Nebraska for that. I mean, again, let me go ahead and pull up their schedule since we're talking about it. If Nebraska's toughest games are against Oregon and Michigan, Oregon's a team that I would think will take a step back this year. We'll see. Michigan's a team I expect to improve this year, but they were horrendous in the passing game last year. Oregon plays Houston Christian, Akron. They get a home date with USC. They go to UCLA. That's a challenging game. They get Iowa at home, Northwestern at home, Maryland, Michigan State at home. That's got to be one of the easiest schedules in the conference. Has to be. And they don't play Minnesota. No, they do play Minnesota. That's the game at Minnesota. So, yeah, that's actually one of the more challenging games. So, I don't know. I mean, I haven't examined every single schedule in this conference yet, 1 through 18, but that's got to be one of the easier schedules collectively.
The Nebraska
Check
schedule.
Illinois.
Yes, it is.
The Nebraska schedule. And that if they don't get to 6-6, regardless of personnel, I mean, again, who's their non-con game, Mark? Cincinnati?
Nebraska, Cincinnati. And
that's
I may pick an upset in that game.
That's a horrible non-conference schedule. That's horrible. That is an awful non-conference schedule. Can I just say that? Horrid.
Yeah, but that could be said about Iowa in other years when Iowa State was awful.
No. Well, yes.
Well, sure.
But the fact that that's one of their road games and the game's being played at Arrowhead is ridiculous.
Sure.
I've said that before. That's stupid.
Yes.
They're playing the Cincinnati and Arrowhead, and that's considered a road game, correct? They don't consider it a neutral site game. They're considering it a road game. Whoever is in the Cincinnati athletic department and approved that needs to be fired right now.
Exactly.
Well, it was supposed to be played in Indianapolis as a road game for Nebraska at Indianapolis, which is close to Cincinnati, but then there were some kind of logistical issues.
But I would not have agreed to go to Arrowhead. That's just, and Chiefs fans wear red. So like everything's going to be red. It's just like, I guess Cincinnati kind of is red, but they'll be wearing black, I guess, with their home team. So anyways, it doesn't matter.
Count out Cincinnati in this game against Nebraska.
No, I'll look into Cincinnati. Anything else, Dave?
Yeah, I would say the next probably easiest schedule I've kind of looked at, at least Big Ten wise, was Illinois. They only play Ohio State, and everybody else is beatable for them. Very beatable, especially at the end. They play like who I think will be on the bottom. Like I think they play like Rutgers, Maryland, and then UCLA and Wisconsin. I want to say.
Well, they do have to play. They do play at Indiana, and they do play at Duke. So those are tricky games, especially since they're on the road. But yes, I'm guessing that's one of the more favorable. I mean, to get Purdue and Northwestern and Rutgers all in the same year.
True. If Illinois can get past the first or second week of October, their first 3 Big Ten games
are tough.
Indiana, Purdue. I'm sorry. Their first 4 Big Ten games are Indiana, USC, Purdue, Ohio State.
They could easily go 1-3 there if they're not careful.
Yeah.
So
imagine
if they go 3-1 there. If they go 3-1 through that stretch, nobody expects them to beat Ohio State. But that game's in it. That game could be fun because if they're rolling, like say they go on the road and beat Duke, they go on the road and beat Indiana and a home win against USC, and those students are juiced up with a win over Purdue. That game, that's going to be a pretty good atmosphere in Champaign, and they don't get many of those.
I've got a stat courtesy Steve Day's Michigan podcast today. We recorded everyone, so you can head on over there, check it out. Steve hit me with this. This is Indiana's first top 25 preseason ranking since 1969. It is Illinois' first top 25 preseason ranking since 1990. And then I added in after he said that, I said, and what's interesting is that they're playing the Big Ten opener, those two. So there's going to be a lot of hype for that game, and I'm going to be super locked in on that game because I think a lot of people are going to dismiss the loser as, okay, yeah, they're a pretender. They couldn't beat Indiana or they couldn't beat Illinois. And I don't necessarily know that that's the case. I think they're both really good football teams.
Well, I think that game against Duke is a pretty exciting game early, because Duke has got the Mensa kid. They bring him in, and
they've got a really good defense. Yeah,
it's a new look. It's going to be a new look offense at Duke. There's a lot intriguing about that, and I think one thing that I'll be excited to see through the course of the season is, and this is not going to interest a lot of fans, but since this is a Big Ten show, because I'm guessing every year there's somebody, which of the bottom dwellers will prove to not be a bottom dweller? Which of the teams on this, as we're analyzing these schedules on August 12th, which of the teams that we perceive to be in the lower quarter or lower fifth of the conference will move out into at least the top 2/3 of the conference or the top 3/5 of the conference? Is it Rutgers? Is it Maryland? Is it Purdue? Does Purdue all of a sudden, does they just figure it out all of a sudden? That is, because that's what we can't predict with schedules at this point, even during fall camps.
Okay, what is your cutoff of the bottom of the Big Ten? What do you consider to be the bottom of the Big Ten?
That's what I said. I mean, if we're talking 18 teams now, I would say the bottom 4 teams.
Okay.
And who are the bottom 4 teams? Purdue, Rutgers, Maryland, and
I would put Rutgers in the bottom 4 this year.
Who would you put in the bottom 4?
I'll give you 3 options for teams that could surprise. Okay. Option number 1, don't be surprised, Northwestern, if they're decent.
Northwestern would be the other one. So that may be a candidate.
I would say UCLA.
UCLA, I'm not even having them in my bottom 4. I've already pegged them as a team I think will be better than people think.
Okay. That was going to be my next team, was going to be UCLA. 5-7 last year, 3-6 in the Big Ten.
But better does not mean better schedule. The schedule's a bear.
Yeah. The schedule's a bear for them. If it wasn't, I thought they were a decent team during the backstretch of last season. They were good. They beat Nebraska. They beat Rutgers. They almost beat USC in the final. They played really well. They took Minnesota down to the last play of the game, like 10 seconds left in the game.
Yeah.
They thrashed Iowa.
Yeah. Oh, Iowa, Nebraska, Minnesota. They played all those teams really well and won 2 of them. And now they got Nico.
Yeah, they bring in a guy who was a darling for Heisman contention, and then all the controversy surrounding him. People forget that he's a really good football player. So there's always a potential for off-field drama and for it not to work, but he's also a really talented dude, a huge upgrade at quarterback.
And then my other candidate is Michigan State.
Yeah, I think Michigan State's pretty.
Again, that's the other team that thrashed Iowa last year. If Aiden Childs is consistent, he's one of the more dynamic quarterbacks in the conference. And I mean that, if he's consistent, that's a huge if, right? But if you watch that game against Iowa, when he's on, he's got incredibly good athleticism. He's just erratic.
How does this Michigan State Big Ten schedule hit you? At USC, bye week, at Nebraska, UCLA, at Indiana, Michigan, at Minnesota, bye week, Penn State, at Iowa, Maryland. It's a pretty tough schedule.
Some difficult road games in there, I think, would be the biggest thing.
They got to go to USC. They got to go to Nebraska, Indiana, Minnesota, and Iowa. They got Penn State at home.
Yeah.
And Michigan at home.
Non-conference is pretty light.
Yeah. Well, they got Boston College at home. That was a really good game last year.
Yeah, BC at home, and then they get FCS Youngstown and Western Michigan. So, yeah, USC. If I had to pick right now without doing more research, I'd pick them to lose at USC. I think Nebraska is probably a loss, although I could see that almost being a toss-up. Indiana's a loss, I think. Michigan, that could be an excellent game because that rivalry is just that's one of the games that I was going to point out for one of my favorite moments.
Such a fun rivalry to watch. I was in
Yeah,
Detroit when that rivalry was happening, and it was just the TVs are every bar is just covered with that game, and half the bars are Michigan fans and half the bars are Michigan State fans. It's such a fun rivalry to watch, especially in Detroit.
So I could see them. Mark, it'd be easy for me to see them, at 4-8 if things don't go their way. But
let me turn your question this way. I've got this favorite stat of mine, the plus or minus 3. And history has shown us that roughly 5 teams in the Big Ten out of 18, about a third of the conference, maybe even 6, will hit this plus or minus 3 from last season to this season. Now, to try to find those teams is difficult.
Well, it's because so much of it's schedule dependent, right? You're trying to figure out who's going to make the most improvement, and also can they work the schedule they have. Like I brought up UCLA a week or two ago, but their schedule is going to make it really difficult to do that, given the fact that they actually surprised some people and went 5-7 last year, and they get a game against Utah to open the season, and then they have to travel to UNLV. Like the non-conference schedules in this conference are not created equal. And it's fine. It doesn't count to the Big Ten, but like UCLA's got that's a very difficult pair of non-conference games. And like, I don't know much about New Mexico. But that could be a bit of sometimes every once in a while, you'll get one of those New Mexico teams that surprises people. When's the last time didn't New Mexico beat somebody a couple of years ago, Mark? What was that, last year or the year before? I'm not thinking of New Mexico State. Didn't they beat Wazoo last year? At the end, toward the end of the season, I'm pretty sure New Mexico beat Wazoo.
I'll look it up.
Okay.
In the meantime, folks, give us your plus or minus 3s in the chat, meaning what teams in the Big Ten could elevate by 3 games or decline by 3 games, at least 3 games. There were 5 last year.
I think Minnesota will go up, and I think Wisconsin goes down.
Minnesota's got to go to 10-2.
They were 8. They were 8-5. So I'm going to say maybe 9-3.
We don't know who teams are going to play.
7-5.
It's a regular season.
Yeah, they have to go up by. We're talking about a 3 plus 3 difference.
Okay. Well,
so Minnesota.
If you want to add on a bowl game, then yeah.
No, we're not adding on bowl games. We don't know who they're going to play in bowl games. We don't know who anyone's playing.
It would be It would be a shock if Minnesota goes 10-2, Dave, because that means that
wouldn't surprise me.
They're in the playoff. It wouldn't surprise you. Come on.
It wouldn't surprise me.
It wouldn't surprise you.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Are you saying that just because you're Minnesota, Dave? Like, is there any objectivity in what you're saying right now? I mean, and I don't blame you if there's not, but
to Dave's point, if
there's
you
only
take
2 definite losses, that's all I see.
Yes, that's what he's going by. If you take each game individually and say, can Minnesota win that game? Can Minnesota win that? If we assume that they lose at Ohio State and at Oregon, which they're going to be enormous underdogs in those games, they're going to beat. Forget the out-of-conference games. They're going to have a tough time against Buffalo, possibly on opening night, right out of the gate. But that assumes that they're going to beat Rutgers, Purdue, Nebraska, at Iowa, Michigan State, at Northwestern, and Wisconsin. They're going to win all those games.
I mean, that's a favorable schedule, like I said, but I go back to the conversation with Nebraska, and it's certainly not apples to apples, but Minnesota, like Iowa's a team, and I know this is going to make me sound like a homer, Iowa's a team that has found a way in numerous seasons to work a schedule where they have a bunch of 50-50 or slightly better than 50% odds to win, where they do win enough to get to 10 wins, or in 2015's case, 12 wins. Minnesota has done that how many times? I don't know the answer to that question. Under PJ, how many times have they won 10 games under PJ?
Once.
Okay. So I have a hard time. That's a very workable schedule. But they did it one time in the lousy Big Ten West.
I believe they've got 3, 9, and 4 years under PJ.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
yeah, 9. Wait a minute. We're not counting bowl games. They did it
8 and
one
4.
time in the PJ Fleck era in the crappy Big Ten West. So I just want to make clear when I say I think Iowa, if I say there's no surprise if Iowa gets to 10-2, I have how many years of evidence that supports that Iowa works a schedule that's manageable.
Yeah, I
Minnesota
agree.
does not work it to a 10-2 record ever, but 1 year. So that's what I'm saying. I do think they've got a very favorable schedule, but I will be very surprised if they go 10-2 because it's unlikely for any team. Like those 2 losses. Who are the 2 losses that we're assuming they get, Mark?
Ohio
Most likely
State
they're
and
going to get
Oregon.
split between Iowa and Nebraska.
But here's the deal, Dave. You and I can both probably agree on this. There's almost no chance they beat Ohio State. And I think if there's a 5% chance, I don't think there's a 3% chance they beat Ohio State. There may be a 9% chance they beat Oregon. So it's almost guaranteed that they have a minimum of 2 losses. And then you're going to bank on them winning the other 8 games. I mean,
yeah, Iowa does not
very
have any
difficult to do.
matchups like that where
all of their difficult ones are home.
Yeah, that they have legitimate shots in those
Shouldn't
games.
say all of them. USC is a difficult game on the road, and Iowa State's a very difficult game on the road. But
yeah, those California games are going to be interesting.
But at Iowa State, at USC is not at Oregon, at Ohio State.
No, Iowa's got more like a 40% chance at worst in their maybe 30-40 against Penn State.
Yeah.
Mark, what will you do?
Minnesota has like a 20% chance to make a 10-2.
40% chance? What?
20.
Oh, 20. That's still,
I don't think it's 20.
Still way too high, but I thought you said 40. Are you on TikTok, Mark? I'm just noticing the banner here at the bottom. Are you on TikTok?
I am not personally on TikTok, but the voice of college football is.
Wow, that's huge. Big time.
Yes, big time.
Big time. So, yeah, Dave, anything else before we let you slide? I'm going to have to slide here in a minute.
Yeah, well, okay, I'll be really quick, Corey. How do you think the Badgers are going to do?
That might be the team I know the least about. I just saw our guy Tyler Kluver over at Washed Up Walk-Ons, and I think he's going to be releasing. I recorded a show with him the other night, so people follow his podcast. They can check that show out. But he just released his tiers for Iowa's opponents. He's got Wisconsin in the same tier as Rutgers, which, Mark, your reaction just now, you don't think that's crazy, but I look at that, I'm like, that seems crazy to me.
No,
but that's been the trajectory to some extent, right?
I would say the Iowa-Wisconsin game will be Wisconsin's season right there. If they can win that game, they can maybe get some momentum and win some other games. But I don't see them. I assume that's a 3-9 team.
Wisconsin also faces the AP preseason number 3, number 7, number 8, number 12, number 14, number 20, and Iowa at Minnesota and Washington.
If you believe in the AP poll, Iowa's like the 8th best team that they're playing.
That schedule is a absolute
brutal
tank.
Most brutal schedule I've ever seen in a long time.
Wow. So
Alabama, Michigan, Iowa, Ohio State, Oregon, Washington, Indiana, Illinois, Minnesota. Like they might win like one Big Ten game.
So for the teams that play like that makes Illinois' schedule look even easier because they get Wisconsin late. Like, is it fair to say there's a good chance that by November 22nd, Wisconsin has just mailed it in? Like, that makes Illinois' schedule look even weaker. Yeah. I mean, I can't believe I'm saying that. Iowa plays Wisconsin in mid-October, so probably not by then. But yeah, teams that get Wisconsin toward the end, Minnesota, Illinois, Indiana, Oregon in late October, like you may have a team that's reeling by then.
This is Wisconsin's October schedule: at Michigan, Iowa, Ohio State, at Oregon. That's who they play in October.
And then they finish up with the last 3 at Indiana, home against Illinois, and at Minnesota. That's like 3 second-tier games, 2 of which are on the road.
And I don't think Washington's a pushover. Dave,
Yeah.
we're going to let you go because Corey
All
needs
right.
to go, and we also have another call coming in.
Okay, see you later. Goodbye.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and oh, by the way, they play Alabama.
Yes, on the road.
Yeah, who they got absolutely slobber knocked by last year, correct? Right?
42-10. Yes. The real MVP. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I've heard they just renamed the Michigan-Oklahoma game to the Cheaters Bowl. The loser of that game is going to take all the sanctions and punishments. The winner gets nothing. What are your gentlemen's thoughts on this proposal?
I think it's one player against a program if we're going to go that route.
But John Mateer, wasn't he at Wisconsin before? Where was he before?
Washington State.
Oh, that's right. Wazoo. Okay. I haven't even read. All I've read is the statement from John Mateer, and I saw a statement from, I think, OU.
In what life, what universe are you sending a Venmo payment that says USC, UCLA betting something? And
It literally said sports gambling.
Sports gambling.
So
USC,
did that
UCLA.
screenshot, was that from the alleged recipient? Who got a hold of those? Because
no, his account is public on Venmo.
That's even stupider. Like, your account is public. You don't have to. Okay. By the way, the way I understand how Venmo works, you can either make private payments or public payments. And when you go through the process, you select either private or public. So he'd have to be literally the world's dumbest college student to not make those, at a minimum, make those payments private, and at a minimum, not label them bets. So I smell a rotten Longhorn in there somewhere.
Ironic turn of phrase there, Corey. But obviously, when people go out to pay for lunch, they put it USC versus UCLA. I'm going to go get me some dinner. I'm going to label it Texas versus Ohio State. Don't you all gentlemen do the same thing? Or is it just us, me and John Mateer, that do this?
I was to say, maybe I could just start signing my checks, John Mateer. Like when I actually finish at a restaurant, I can just say, well, no card today, but John Mateer's got it. Maybe they'll have his name in their record book somewhere. So
I just don't want to make my transactions public to people. I don't understand that.
I don't understand that either. I use Venmo a lot for different things. I always turn it to private. Why do I need people to see, even people that I am friends with? Why do I need to see the fact that I bought? Like, I saw there's somebody that I know. Can I give you? I'll just read this because nobody knows this person. Nobody knows who this person is. If this person watches this show, I don't know if they do. If this person watches this show, then they're about to be, I guess you could say, exposed, but I won't name them by name. But I noticed this person the other day has a bunch of public transactions, and I'll read you some of their transactions if that's okay, Mark.
Absolutely. We have millions watching, so it's probable.
Wait a minute, we have millions watching. Is that what you said?
Of course. You're on the Voice of College Football.
Now I'm not finding his. Well, I'll just pick someone else. Here's a gas payment, another gas payment. Here's a pizza payment, some sauce that they bought, coffee. Why salt? Why? I don't understand why.
I'm doing the same thing. I'm seeing where David paid Summer, Jennifer paid Melchor, Sheldon paid Andy.
Why is it interesting to other people? Why do you want other people? Why do we need? I don't even know why Venmo has that as an option.
Yeah, it's
some people are way too comfortable sharing what they do on the internet. Like, I guess some people are way too comfortable with that. Now that we've left at the cheaters in Oklahoma, Indiana and Illinois, would you agree that they are the two highest ceiling, lowest floor teams in the country this season? Like, they could finish 4-8 or 10-2, and it really wouldn't shock anybody.
Illinois is not going 4-8. Did you just say Illinois could go 4-8?
I mean,
have you looked at their schedule?
Listen, I understand it's unlikely, but Illinois isn't this name brand powerhouse team that's just going to out talent everybody.
They don't need to be a name brand powerhouse team. They play Western Illinois, Western Michigan, Rutgers, Wisconsin, Northwestern, Washington, Purdue, and Maryland. They're not going 4-8. All right.
How about
at a
worst
minimum,
case scenario for
6-6
Illinois
is their worst
They-
case. Worst
okay.
case, 6-6.
They go to
6-6.
Indiana, they lose to USC, Ohio State, Washington. Yeah, it's even tough to.
They can lose to Rutgers. Rutgers should have beat them last year.
Sure, they could.
And then they'll lose every other game on the schedule, as in they will lose to USC, they will lose to Duke. Like they will lose
Duke
to
went
Indiana.
9-3 last year.
agree,
Duke's a legit team.
I'm not saying they're not.
I got to side with Corey on that one. It's tough to find losses. Their closing stretch is Rutgers, Maryland, Wisconsin, Northwestern.
Oh, fair enough. Okay, maybe 4-8 is a little too much, but
they play Purdue. They literally play Purdue, Western Michigan, and Western Illinois. Western Illinois is one of the worst teams in the FCS over the last 5 years.
Yeah, those are 3 games they're going to win. I'm just saying it wouldn't shock me. Maybe I'll revise it a bit. It wouldn't shock me if they go 6-6 and everybody's shocked that this team that everybody thought was going to be in the playoffs is barely scraping to be bowl eligible by the end of the season.
Barely scraping. I think at a minimum what happens is they have to win those last 3 to get to 6-6 because their difficult games come before November. But yeah, 6-6 I could squint and see, but I think there's a better chance they go. I think there's a much better chance they go 10-2 than 5-7. I really do.
I agree with you. I'm just talking in variance. Their variance is more dramatic than most teams throughout the Power 4.
That's the case with Iowa. I mean, even though Iowa's this unbelievable example of consistency, Mark, if momentum starts going the other way, we had somebody in our last show brought it up in the chat. Like if they lose to Iowa State, you got to travel to, not that Rutgers is a difficult game, but it's on the road, 2 time zone difference. And then then you get those games against Indiana, Oregon, Penn State, USC. They could somersault. The conference is just so strong now, right? So I think there does create a wider variability in there for any team, but especially the teams that are more dependent on health, are more dependent on development and winning close games, certainly. And Iowa's a good example of that. And Illinois is probably going to have to win close games to get to 10-2.
To me, Nebraska and USC are the most intriguing teams in the conference, and Corey's starting to sell me on putting Iowa in that category.
Great. Isn't that nice? Why do you being serious, Mark? You really
I
believe
am being serious.
Iowa's intriguing. That's interesting. I didn't expect you to say that because you kind of been down on the Hawks a little bit.
A little bit
down on them.
But maybe Oregon goes in there and they pull off an upset against Oregon or Penn State. I would
time out real quick. I could be wrong because I'm not. Do you think will Oregon be a big favorite in Kinnick?
Yes, a big favorite. What do you consider a big favorite?
More than 3 or 4?
Yes, maybe in that range. A touchdown. Favorite.
All right. Wow. That surprises me. That surprises me.
The 7th ranked team in the country.
Well, first of all,
right now,
the AP the coaches poll people are not the ones in Vegas. Okay. Let's just establish that first of all.
Yes.
Second of all, that's still, again, we know how the Big Ten struggled much of the year last year, crossing time zones. Oregon's having to enter a raucous Kinnick with a new quarterback. They lost quite a bit. And,
I understand.
These are all interesting conversations.
I'm on top of point spreads. I'm not an expert. I'm not an odds maker. But remember the conversation we had prior to the 2022. So it's off season leading into 2022.
Ohio State and Oregon are 2 different situations.
Okay.
Oregon was just as good as Ohio State last year at times, but in general, those 2 programs, I don't think we can compare the sustainability of dominance in Columbus to what Oregon has, what we expect from them year in and year out with turnover. I don't think
if they were playing in week 1, I would guess Oregon would be a less than touchdown favorite. 5 or 6 points, something like that.
When do they play? Can I pull this up? Let's see.
Sometime in October. That's going to be fun seeing Oregon go into Kinnick.
Yeah. They play in November. They play November 8th. And so, Now, Oregon plays in a cold environment. I don't know I know that part of Oregon is pretty mild. So the thing about it is, like, it's not going to be I doubt that it's going to be some 0-degree day in early November in Iowa. So now what would be interesting is if, like, we do get an early winter. I don't want an early winter, but, like, say it gets early winter. Oregon, again, is pretty mild weather in that part of the state. And they don't get a lot of snow. Once in a while, they'll get hit hard. I got family about 45 minutes from Eugene. I don't follow the weather for those games, but that is an interesting time to travel to Iowa. And let's see, Oregon. So right before that game, Iowa gets Minnesota at home, and they'll get USC after. But, okay, they get 2 home games leading up to the home game. So they actually get 3 straight home games. Iowa gets 3 straight home games, Mark, and they're all difficult. Penn State, Minnesota, and Oregon. That's a stretch. And then they finish 2 of their last 3 on the road. Oregon, prior to the Iowa game, they get Rutgers on the road. So they'll cross 3 time zones and then come back home for Wisconsin and then cross 2 more time zones to play Iowa. That's a lot of travel, and there's no bye week in there. So, wait, I'm sorry. No, time out. Let me rephrase that. I missed this. They do have a bye week before Iowa. So that is, I think bye weeks, and I don't know what the data says year 1 with the new expanded league, but I think bye weeks are a little bit more consequential with expansion out west. Don't you think, Mark? I mean, there is literally something called jet lag, and that sometimes the only way to get over jet lag is time.
I am the only person I know that does not suffer from jet lag, but I understand it's a thing.
Yeah, I don't know that I suffer from it too much, but I also don't travel.
Right.
I don't go. I've never been out of the.
I hear this from so many people, and I don't know what they're talking about, but I hear from enough people that I know it exists.
Yeah, I think Oregon's going to be a touchdown favorite. I just think most people in general view Oregon as a tier 1 Big Ten team, while Iowa's a tier 2 Big Ten team. So, but Oregon could by that time of the season. One of these top 10 teams is going to be unranked by the end of the season if history holds, and Oregon's probably the most likely or one of the most likely teams to be in that category. So, who really knows for sure? But
can we go back real quick, Mark, just for 1 second? I want to just say Oregon plays. They went from playing, was it nobody on the non-conference schedule last year?
Boise State.
Okay, they played, but was it the year before that they played nobody? When did they play Idaho State? Was that last year?
Yes.
And they struggled against them. Maybe that's just what's coming to mind.
Yes.
They have a difficult non-conference schedule. I mean, you get Oklahoma State. They get Oklahoma State. Oregon State. They're getting
a difficult game.
I'm not sold.
You don't have to be sold. They're playing now.
Sure,
the good thing is they play all of their. Well, they play all of their non-conference games at home. That's the advantage. But we're talking rivalry game against Oregon State, Big 12 opponent. I'm just comparing it to other Big 10 teams, and then guess what? They play Montana State out of the FCS. Don't laugh. I don't know why you're laughing.
This is why college football needs an equitable schedule. I mean, if this is a difficult schedule, my goodness, we're in a sad state of affairs.
Okay.
Corey,
Montana
the most accurate
State.
part of that you stated was
I love
against other Big Ten schedules. You are right. Against Maryland, Rutgers, Penn State. Yes, that is a difficult schedule.
I'm telling you, you don't have to respect
but it's
the
not
Big
a
Sky.
Schedule.
You don't have to respect the Big Sky.
I'm not.
But
who said I don't respect? I respect everyone who's playing big time college football.
You don't have respect for the Big Sky.
Do you want me to read other schedules that are much more difficult?
I just read through how many Big Ten schedules that are not difficult. I just read you Indiana. I just told you how Illinois, Western Illinois. Who was that? Was that Illinois that plays?
That was Illinois.
Western Illinois and who?
And I told you that the most accurate
Western
portion
Michigan.
of your diatribe is that you're comparing them to other Big Ten schedules.
It's not a diatribe. It's not a diatribe.
Looking across the country, there are tons of teams that play more difficult non-conference schedules.
What? We're not talking about. This is a Big Ten show. We are talking about Big Ten schedules here.
But in terms of comparing teams, it doesn't matter who they're playing non-conference. That doesn't factor into the Big Ten championship.
It does absolutely.
It's more important who you play non-conference comparing across the country.
So you're telling me that what we were just talking about, Wisconsin potentially going into November with a crap schedule, that's not influenced, and then possibly mailing it in or losing. If a team is out of the playoff race by the time you hit late October, you don't think that affects play? You don't think that affects level of difficulty?
The playoff situation understands my point.
I understand the playoff situation.
Comparing Big Ten teams, we would compare their Big Ten schedules, obviously.
What did I just say?
Championship in the Big Ten. But when we're comparing non-conference schedules within a conference, that's inconsequential. We might as well compare all the teams in the country and their non-conference schedules.
It isn't inconsequential because a team's record, momentum or lack thereof, could have a direct impact on how they play the rest of their Big Ten schedule. That's the point. Their overall record could have a play in how they play an Illinois or a Penn State in November. That's my point.
Yes, I understand your point.
So yes. I want to go back to their schedule for just a second. Okay. To act like Oregon State is not a challenge, a Big Ten or a rivalry game, old Pac-12 rivalry, right? There's a trophy involved there.
Sure. It's a rival.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know much about Oklahoma State. That's a good program.
They were the worst Big 12 team last year. They didn't win a single game. That's what they did last year.
Okay. They're a Big 12 10. They're a Big 12 program.
Yes, Oklahoma State has been a good program in the past.
A lot of teams.
They are most likely to be terrible this year.
Darrell, don't make me call you the fake MVP. But the bottom line is they're playing one team that used to be in the Pac-12, solid rival. Most teams seems like the teams we've looked at in the Big Ten play one decent team out of conference and then play two cupcakes, total cupcakes. Oregon State, Oklahoma State, neither one of those teams is a cupcake. And by the way, Montana State is not a cupcake. Okay. That's not a cupcake. Big Sky Conference. And by the way, it was a Montana team that beat New Mexico last year out of the FBS. They beat an FBS team last year. Montana's really good. Montana State, this team that played, Montana State, the team that plays Oregon out of the gates this year, lost by 4. I just looked this up. Lost by 4 to national champion North Dakota State last year in the playoffs. By 4. Okay. That's a very good FCS program. And most programs in the FBS are scared to play teams like Montana State.
I would rather play that schedule of non-conference games than play Texas and blank because it doesn't matter the other two games. I would rather play that schedule that you just named from Oregon than play at Oklahoma, blank, doesn't matter the other, or at Alabama, and then 2 other games.
Right, but I would rather play in Illinois' schedule at Duke and then just 2 total washouts. Total washouts. We're one of the worst programs in the FCS, one of the worst programs in the MAC. Like, I'd much rather play that team.
Duke is most likely. We don't know. We got to watch the games played. Obviously, we don't know. When I say somebody's better than somebody, we got to see the games being played, and we're going to play out a season in which there are going to be surprises and disappointments and so forth. But most likely, Duke is better than those 3 teams.
Yeah, but that's not what we're talking about. We're comparing 3 games versus 3 games. We're not comparing 1 versus 1. Or
but
1 versus 3. We're not doing that.
It's more likely that Illinois is going to drop a game than Oregon is.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that. 3. Well, I don't know that you do. We could run the numbers. We could run probabilities on 3 potential losses for Oregon versus likelihood of loss for Illinois at Duke. And I think it would be a lot closer than you think, and it may even be in the favor of Duke having the easier schedule.
Okay.
I think you're vastly overrating Oklahoma State and Montana State and their probability.
I'm not overrating anything. I'm just simply saying those are major college football teams. Western Michigan and Western Illinois are not, Darrell.
I will make a statement right now. I will make a major wager with anyone that if there is a game lost between those 2 teams, Oregon and Illinois non-conference, that it's going to be Illinois losing at Duke. If anyone loses a game, that's going to be the game.
Okay. Well, see, here's the problem. Here's the issue and the inequity with this conversation. Oregon's probably also going to be a better team than Illinois. So it's really not totally measurable because They're different teams playing different schedules. If they were the same team playing different schedules, that would be different, but not possible. So I tend to agree with you on that. But I don't like when people scoff at South Dakota State, North Dakota State, Montana State.
I know you don't.
Northern Iowa, because there have been a lot of really close games against FBS teams, some upsets. Yeah, Iowa lost to North Dakota State in 2016 and almost lost to South Dakota State in 2021. But they're the only team that's lost to teams. I believe Kansas State dropped one. Iowa State played a really close game against South Dakota State several years ago. They play close games against UNI. Iowa plays close games against UNI. Nebraska has struggled with UNI. And I just don't like it when people put all these FCS teams in the same basket. Like, I just hope we can differentiate the difference between Western Illinois and Montana State. I just hope we can realize that, it's an FCS team. No, it's not that simple.
Well, we need you on the playoff committee because you understand that you are not what your record says you are, Corey. Please put you on the playoff committee.
And not all FBS teams are created equal. And not all FCS
exactly.
I agree with you, Corey, to the degree that, but if we get to talking about the elite teams of college football, it starts to not matter who they're playing once you get past the 60th best team in the country.
And that could be true. I'm not going to debate that. I
agree with you. Yes.
I think there's a decent chance both those teams win all 6 of their non-conference games. I really do. I think Illinois probably will. I think Illinois will probably go out to Chapel Hill and win, and Oregon is likely to win all 3. I think Oregon could struggle, though. I mean, we saw them struggle against Idaho State last year, so they have a recent record of maybe coming out of the gates in the season a little slow. So
yeah,
you can't do that. By the way, one more thing on Idaho, like a huge difference between Idaho State and Montana State, and I would guarantee you that what's his face out at Oregon, who's that?
Dan Lanning.
Lanning. I would guarantee you Dan Lanning is probably, if he's not already talked about the season opener, he'll talk about it game week. And that will be one of the big things he brings up. And whether you want to say that's just coach speak, whatever, he will go back. I guarantee you, because a lot of those guys are going to be in the same team. He'll look back and bring up the struggles, the score at halftime, whatever the case may be with that Idaho State game, and say, hey boys, if we come out of the gates like this against Montana State, we're going to lose. And they will lose. If they come out of the gates the way they did against Idaho State, that's not a good FCS program. If they do that week 1 this year, they will lose to Montana State.
The Power 4 record against the FCS last year was undefeated. It was like 70-0 or something like that.
And again, less Power 4 teams are playing good FCS teams. That has changed. We've gone back and looked at it. Now, the record is still very good, right? It's better football, but in recent history, you have more of the Indianas and Illinois playing the Western Illinois of the world. And I think part of that is because they've learned you don't schedule Montana. That's why I'm very surprised Oregon's playing Montana State. That surprises me. Anyways.
And to your point, Montana, I don't remember if it was, we had this conversation a couple months ago. It was either Montana or Montana State defeated Washington in 2021.
Yeah, like I said, not Power 4, but I believe it was Montana last year beat an FBS team in New Mexico. So yeah, lower echelon at the FBS, but we can agree there's crossover. Like,
yeah, not just I think Montana State was favored against New Mexico last year.
I've asked you this question before, Mark. Like a North Dakota State, South Dakota State, they've been perennial powers in the FCS. Where would they finish if they played a Big Ten schedule with the current roster? We don't know how they'd be able to recruit in a different. They'd probably still finish lower 4th, but I don't know that they'd finish dead last. I don't even know that they'd finish dead last in the Big Ten. I really don't. I think on a neutral field right now, the best team in the FCS would probably beat Purdue, might beat Maryland, could definitely hang with Northwestern. Look at who Northwestern has lost to. And some of these, like we brought up the 1-11 team a few years ago. Hey, Minnesota, didn't they lose to Bowling Green a couple of years ago? I mean, it's, So anyways, interesting conversation, but.
Yeah, and the Big Ten has had issues losing to MAC schools. I think last year was the first time in like a very long time that they hadn't dropped one against a MAC school. So it's out of abnormal for them to win all these non-conference cupcake games for that conference.
Boy, I can't wait to root for Montana State against Oregon. Go ahead, Mark.
We can blame most of the Big Ten West, the old Big Ten West, for most of those losses to the MAC. That's a lot of Purdue, Northwestern, Illinois is what that is.
Iowa lost a couple during the Ferentz era. They lost to Central Michigan, lost to Western Michigan, almost lost to Ball State one year. So it does happen.
Michigan State did a long, long time ago, and I'm sure Indiana has. All right, Darrell, anything else?
No, it's been a pleasure talking to you, gentlemen. I can't wait. We actually get some football here in a few weeks. We actually get to see some results. Isn't that nice?
And I'm going to be here every night at 10 p.m. Eastern time.
Okay, and I saw John DeAnimo talk about Corey and John hosting a show. What's that about?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
This is the risk that is run when people tweet things out and then people just glance at it and no, Corey and John are not co-hosting a show together.
Okay.
No, they are going to fill in for me and possibly
it's probably going to be more John than me, Darrell. It'll probably be more John than me, but
I offered that to Corey knowing that he's going to be, turning me down most of the time, if not all the time, because of his schedule. But yeah. No,
it's been a pleasure talking to you, gentlemen. Keep your Venmo transactions to private, I think is the main takeaway of today's call.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Darrell.
And we'll have to actually see if that is a legitimate story, because I know that a lot of things came out right after that about that possibly not being a legitimate story. So I don't know. Or to the degree that it was taken. I don't know. All right. We will wrap it up with this. We've got Minnesota Dave. Thank you for the contribution. Do you think it's time for the Mountain West to try to grab the Dakota teams? No.
I don't think that they're interested. I don't know that they're interested to go to the Mountain West now. I don't know the logistics of that type of movement, but I think North Dakota State, South Dakota State, they've had opportunities to join conferences. I think that would have happened by now. If they wanted to go to the FBS, they would have been here by now. There's plenty of FCS teams that are making that move, and they're not the powers.
So the Big Ten Live Show is myself and Corey every Tuesday at 6 Eastern, 5 Central, right here. So make it on back next Tuesday for your calls, and we will talk Big Ten football with you then. And please, we will leave you with a little promotional deal. College football is even more exciting when you've got some action on the line, and the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the Voice of College Football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread, and I've got a 40-plus year track record. 11-0 in the college football playoff for me last year against the money line, 8-3 against the spread. And I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill of Wager Talk is our ace in the hole, show stopper. 7 years with the Voice of College Football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick. 28-12 against the spread the last 3 years. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Corey Bratta, Matt Zemek, and Steve Dace. Check out those numbers. Become a YouTube or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click join, and then select a betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2025 a winner now.